Come with me as we explore Old Faithful. Yellowstone Park has over 10,000 thermal features and over 500 geysers. Upper Geyser Basin, where Old Faithful is located, has over 150 geysers, making it the largest concentration of geysers in the world. On average, Old Faithful erupts every 74 minutes, with an eruption lasting anywhere from 1.5 to 5 minutes. And up to 8,400 gallons of water can be spewed up to 180 feet high. The water temperature is over 200 degrees, and the temperature of the steam over 350 degrees. Old Faithful is just one of the spectacular sights to see in this area. So I traveled from Grand Prismatic Spring and hiked to Fairy Falls to see Old Faithful and stay in a cabin at Old Faithful Lodge. It's a historic building, and when I arrived, you could see Old Faithful through the window. I bought a $15 dinner before the cafeteria closed at 7 and checked into my cabin. By spending the night, you're able to see the park in the evening and morning when there are a lot less people. So I started to explore the boardwalk. Blue Star Spring off the Old Faithful boardwalk. Looks like raining in a distance. There's a number of cool thermal features to check out and explore. But one of the things that you can't miss is the Old Faithful Inn, built in 1904. You might plan to have dinner there, but if not, at least walk through it and check out the amazing architecture of the largest log building in the world. It was made from local logs and stone, and the towering lobby is known for the massive rock fireplace and handcrafted clock seen there. Up on the second deck, there may be a band playing. There's a gift shop and a variety of different rooms, different price ranges, some quite expensive. And quite honestly, being built in 1904, some of them aren't as nice as the Snow Lodge located next door. First thing in the morning or late in the day are the best times to see wildlife on the boardwalk. And this one's right there at Old Faithful. Buffalo in front of Old Faithful, or I should say a bison. If it's here in about 20 minutes, Old Faithful will be going off. That would be very cool. I decided that I'd wait around and see if I could get a shot of Old Faithful going off with a buffalo in the foreground. And there's the Old Faithful Inn in the background. To get the perfect photo, that one just spectacular opportunity where you have a buffalo, Old Faithful, and everything comes together, takes a lot of patience and, quite honestly, a lot of luck. A lot of factors were working against me. As you see, not only is it getting darker, but those are rain clouds. So, will Old Faithful go off before the rain? And will Old Faithful go off before it gets dark? And that buffalo's moving away. Makes it easier to get a picture of it, but it's farther away from Old Faithful, and that sky's definitely looking threatening. But I'll wait out and hope I can get the picture. The one thing it is doing is creating a cool sunset. There's a buffalo still grazing on the dry grass. Sun setting behind it. Just spectacular, even if you don't get the exact photo you want. Just being there, observing it is just a great opportunity. Again, most people aren't there during this time of the evening. They miss out these spectacular sights. Well, the buffalo sat down, and there is the start of Old Faithful. Well, the buffalo doesn't show up that well. Still just spectacular. The sunset, the buffalo. We even had some lightning in the distance. Unfortunately, didn't get that in any of the videos, but that would have been spectacular. Old Faithful, a sunset, the bison, and lightning. But it still made for spectacular photos. You probably could tell from the sound in the video that it had started to rain. And while it wasn't raining really hard, I snapped off my last few photos, decided to head to my cabin. It was $130 a night, but even that price changed drastically from day to day. But then I decided I'd come out and hike the boardwalk at night. Well, I couldn't take pictures really with my cell phone. I could with my real camera. With longer exposures, you could capture Old Faithful at night. There's, I think it's Grotto Geyser. You could see the stars out at night. But just spectacular opportunity to get some photos that you can't get during the daytime. And of course, one of my favorites, Morning Glory Pool. You can see the stars on that. The next morning, I got up, ate a sandwich, checked out this lean-to behind my cabin, and then went to hike the boardwalk. I always loved this little bridge across the stream. Just enjoying the flowing water and beautiful scenery. I remember being there as a teenager, just looking out at that. There's Old Faithful Inn. Nice view from the boardwalk and some of the thermal features. And being there early in the morning, you're there before everyone else is around. Just boardwalks all over. This is a video of Pump Geyser. Who knows when it really goes off. Another view of the same geyser. Well, the morning isn't always the best time to see everything, because some of the pools are most spectacular when the sun's out. It's still quite an experience. And when you're there by yourself or with very few other people, it makes it a little more special. Do you know what causes these colors in the thermal features? This is doublet pool. If you came up with bacteria or microorganisms called thermophiles, I'll give you credit for the cause of the color in the thermal features. Beach Spring. Next question, what does thermophile mean? You know it causes those colors. Ear spring. Shape of an ear. Well, thermophile means heat-loving. And yeah, that's why they love the thermal features. Grand Prismatic Spring, a few miles from Old Faithful, is a perfect example of the colors from the thermal files. But we continue on the boardwalk at Old Faithful. See a buffalo through the trees. You're just never sure what you might see. There's a trail system that you can take all the way from Old Faithful to Biscuit Basin. You can hike it, or you can even rent a bicycle and ride to Biscuit Basin, passing various geysers along the way. I usually just hike the boardwalk and stop when I get to Morning Glory Pool. This is Penta Geyser. There's a saying that we travel not to escape life, but for life not to escape us. And if you've never been to Yellowstone Park, well, part of life has escaped you. Here's a buffalo, bison that I passed along the way. Another boiling pool. You start to take all these for granted. But looking back at the pictures and the photos and the reflections in the water, just brings back memories of every trip. I've traveled to Yellowstone since I was a kid on family trips up to Canada to see my grandparents. The beauty pool. In my 20s, I drove there by myself. I remember getting snowed in one year. Had to sleep in Old Faithful Inn, just in the lobby, because there were no rooms left and no way to drive out. Chromatic pool. So I was standing here, I got a call from my daughter. Just a number of different experiences, from being there with my parents to being there with my grandkids. And of course, being there with my daughter. The place hasn't changed a lot, but some of those boardwalks are new. Some of the thermal features have changed, and there have been earthquakes and things have shifted, but it's still spectacular. Oblong Geyser. Love how the sun reflects off the water. Needed to come out from behind the cloud. I was kind of surprised my daughter was able to reach me, because phone reception isn't very good throughout most of the park. This is Giant Geyser, last erupted in 2019, 3 years ago. Wouldn't it be something if it went off now? At Old Faithful and Mammoth Hot Springs, you may actually be able to make calls, and you may even have Wi-Fi. This is Grotto Geyser, the one I tried taking the photo last night with. Coming up to Riverside Geyser, you can see it's going off. Don't know if I'll get there before it finishes. This is the second trip in a row where I just happened to get to Riverside Geyser when it was going. This is Riverside. I'm not sure why I had this on the director's cut, because apparently I don't have anything to say. I guess that's just my way of showing that, yeah, I'm actually there. Obviously made it in plenty of time for Riverside Geyser. Spectacular. Just another little boiling pond. This is part of the area I passed last night as I was making my way spectacular. Here's a picture I took with my Nikon versus picture with my cell phone. Most of the videos and pictures you see are with my cell phone, so they don't necessarily do everything justice. This is just spectacular. Just along the way to Morning Glory Pool. Sun keeps coming up and going down. Not the best time for this, but even when the sun isn't perfect, it's still spectacular. As you age, your goals change. That's that Riverside Geyser still going. I've walked this far. My goal now is to no longer get more done, but to have less to do so that I can spend the time doing the things I most want to do. Finally made it to Morning Glory Pool. The sun's behind a cloud, and now when it comes out you see the shadow of the fence, the shadows of the people around it. So depending if the sun is out or if a cloud is covering it, you get a different perspective, and you want to get your pictures done, obviously, at a different time of day. But it's spectacular no matter what time you see it, even if your picture is ruined by a little fence shadow or shadows of the people that are there to see it. But now it's time to turn around and head back towards Old Faithful and the log cabin, past some of the spectacular sights. Doesn't even have a name. But I hope you've enjoyed this little tour of the boardwalk at Old Faithful. And while I've showed you many of the sights, there are many more sights to see there. And every time you go, you may see something a little bit different. You may see a bear, you may see a buffalo, you may see a buffalo with Old Faithful. But regardless of when you go, it's always spectacular. And as I hike out, say goodbye to the buffalo, the caterpillars, and I get to see Old Faithful go off one last time. And then it's time to head to some new locations. But you'll always have that memory of Old Faithful as it erupts into the sky. Just always spectacular. Something for us all to live up to. Getting old, and I guess being faithful. However you want to interpret that. I'd like to say if you've been to Old Faithful, you've seen it all. But you got to go to Mammoth and all the other locations. Just spectacular. Mammoth's always a good place to see not only this thermal feature, but elk. And if you're at the right time of year, you'll see the newborn bison. Just interesting to see. But the elk and the bison are always around the town. You got to get to Grand Prismatic Spring. Just so spectacular. And if you can see stuff at evening, it gives a whole new perspective. Lamar Valley, currently closed, but you can go to Hayden Valley, shown here. See lots of bison, wide open prairies. Another spectacular sight. Just wherever you go, there's something to see. You may see a black bear off in a distance, just kind of strolling around. Or you might go to West Thumb Basin and see a grizzly bear swimming across Yellowstone Lake. And don't forget the waterfalls, Upper and Lower Falls, and then Tower Falls. This area's been closed for a couple of years, but now you can go see Tower Falls. But wherever you go, hope you enjoy it, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and have a great day, and good luck with your next trip to Yellowstone.